March is upon us, a month that welcomes in the softness of spring and the return of life and light to the landscape. This month, on the cusp of winter's end, is filled with magic and folklore, so let's explore together. Hares have always belonged to the in-between, creatures of shadow and silver light, moonbound, fleet-footed and untamed, disappearing into the dusk like a whisper. They've long been shapeshifters and connected to women in particular. March is the time of the hare, when they emerge once more in the springtime sunlight, struck often by March madness, where they will box and fight in an unusual mating ritual. In Celtic mythology, the great warrior Oisin was said to have wounded a hare in the leg while out hunting one day. Oisin followed the hare where it fled into the misty glades and found a woman inside with a cut on her leg, and then he swore to never eat hare again. And we can find this elsewhere in folklore. A text from 1893 in Ireland tells us, country people in Kerry don't eat hares, the souls of their grandmothers are supposed to have entered into them. And another tale I find very interesting is that of Isabel Gowdy, a Scottish woman who confessed to witchcraft in the 1600s. Her trial was all recorded and can be read today, and she admitted to a lot of strange and unusual things. One of the things that she said is that she could turn into a hare, and she would chant the words, "I shall go into a hare," and transform into this creature. Folklore is always a little bit odd, as in some traditions, seeing a hare was thought to be bad luck, but simultaneously in English folklore, carrying a hare's foot was thought to bring protection, and this was later adapted into the rabbit's foot charm. On the flip side yet again, it was said to be good luck to see a moon-gazing hare. The hare runs through misted fields, through moon-pulled tides, through places the plough has never turned. They say the hare is hollow-boned, light as wind, fleet as thought, and it leaps between the worlds as women and wildness. The name March comes from Martius, the first month of the Roman calendar. This actually used to be the very first month of the year before the Gregorian calendar was introduced. It was named after Mars, the Roman god of war and an ancestor of the Roman people through his sons Romulus and Remus. The month of Martius was the beginning of the season for warfare that had been paused during the stillness of winter. The monk Bede tells us that the Saxons called this month Hrethmonath, which came from the goddess Hretha, to whom the Saxons sacrificed during this month. Hretha, a name that lingers in history, but whose story is all but lost to time. The adjective Hretha in Old English means glory, fame, triumph or honour, but it's also been suggested that she could have been a war goddess, as some interpretations show this to mean fierce, cruel or rough. The sacrifice during Hrethmonath may have been an attempt to placate Hretha and avoid the worst of the storms, but we simply cannot be sure. March the 1st is St. David's Day, who is the patron saint of Wales and is still celebrated to this day with festivals and bunches of sunshine daffodils. Following that, on March the 4th, is Shrove Tuesday, or now Pancake Day, which is the final feasting day before the Christian tradition of Lent begins on the following day, Ash Wednesday, a lingering echo of older rites of cleansing and renewal. March the 20th marks the March equinox, also called the vernal or spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere, which indicates the beginning of spring. On this day, the sun stands directly over Earth's equator and rises exactly in the east and sets exactly in the west. We actually have little to no historical record of celebrations at this time of year, but in modern times this has been named ostara as part of the Wheel of the Year, and many pagans choose to celebrate. A modern name for an ancient threshold, a moment when light and dark stand as equals. The name ostara comes from the writings of the monk Bede, yet again, who wrote this about the pagans. Eostre has a name which is now translated Paschal month, and which was once called after a goddess of theirs named Eostre, in whose honour feasts were celebrated in that month. However, he was actually referring to April, and we know nothing else about this goddess other than a whisper of a name, a fragment of a forgotten past. Many people use this as a time to plant seeds, literally and figuratively, dye eggs, bake seasonal food, prepare the garden, and generally get ready for spring. Ostara is a time of change, a shift when we let the old season go and welcome in a new one. March is also a time of weather superstitions, evil, wild and untamed, and according to folklore, it is somewhat of a tricksy month and purposely found a way to kill off creatures. In Scottish, Irish and Manx folklore, the last 3 days of March are called the borrowed days, borrowed from April. These days were thought to be the most stormy and unpredictable as punishment for March boasting of its power. In Irish folklore, these days are known as the days of the brindled cow. In this legend, March originally only had 30 days. The brindled cow was hungry and exhausted after a long winter, but boasted to March that it would survive into April and could be seen leaping and jumping around. The cow survived the 30th day of March, but the month then borrowed a day from April, and it was this particularly cold day that killed off the cow. An old Scots rhyme says, "March said to April, I see 3 hogs upon a hill, and if you lend me 3 days, I'll find a way to make them ill." You may have heard the phrase, "in like a lion, out like a lamb." This well-known proverb suggests that if March begins stormy like a lion, it will end gently like a lamb, as tempests give way to gentle warmth and storm softens into spring. Its origins may stem from astrological connections, with March beginning in Pisces and ending in Aries, or perhaps even biblical, with references to Jesus being the Lamb of God. No flower is so entwined with March as the daffodil. Their Latin name Narcissus derives from the name of the son of Cephissus, who was the river god in Greek mythology. According to legend, Narcissus fell in love with his own reflection in the water, and when he died staring at himself in love, the daffodil bloomed in that spot. This is incidentally where we get the term narcissist from. Daffodils are a symbol of life, rebirth, and new beginnings, being one of the first flowers to bloom after a long and hard winter. During medieval times, it was thought that if a daffodil drooped as you looked at it, it was an omen of death. The gift of a single daffodil is also thought to bring about misfortune, so it's better to give a bunch. In Wales, legend says that those who see the first daffodil of the season will be blessed with wealth in the coming year. Daffodils are also the national flower of Wales and are worn for St. David's Day each year. In China, if a daffodil blooms on the first day of a new year, it is thought to bring wealth and good fortune for the rest of the year. Birds are woven into the folklore of the land, and it's often said that the first bird you see on March the 1st will foretell your luck for the year ahead. Seeing a robin is a sign of good luck. A magpie could mean to beware of trickery. A raven or a crow could signify that change is on its way. And a pair of birds together will mean that love and partnership will flourish. March is a month of shifting energies, from the last whispers of winter to the stirrings of spring. Its folklore is rich with omens, seasonal superstitions, and ancient customs that remind us of nature's ever-turning wheel. If you want to delve into the magic of March a little bit more, you can access the 2025 March Almanac and my Patreon. It will take you in depth through the magic and folklore of this month, give you ideas for rituals, recipes, a bucket list of fun activities to do to make the most of the month, and even film, music, and book recommendations to enjoy the month of March. You can find the link in the description. Whether you work with weather magic, bird omens, tree lore, or seasonal festivals, there is so much to explore and honour in this transitional time. So let me know in the comments. Have I missed anything off, and how do you celebrate this month?